All right, this week at complete total political incompetence. That's why we're here. I'm James Smart.
I'm Marvin Tumbo.
This is Afro Politico. I love to talk about this week. I want to talk about that petition that seeks to remove the CJ first and foremost. And we'll also talk about, at some point, about NASA's threat to boycott the election. And President Uhuru saying that even if Raila were to win this election, guess what? He'll be impeached in less than 3 months, I said. Right. Welcome to Afro Politico. All right, great. Now, let's begin where we should, and that is where the biggest political story this week. Nyeri Town MP Ngunjiri presented a petition outlining reasons why the CJ, David Maraga, should be impeached and removed out of office. Well, that petition that presented yesterday sort of is like a, how do I say, a political hot potato. But it's Marvin who's been accusing people on this show of political incompetence. But how's that? Let's listen in. First, the MP comes in with what everyone thought is Jubilee's very well thought out ideas on how it should move forward, because Jubilee have been quite unhappy with the Supreme Court. They've made it clear, made it known. So when this happened, finally, like, right, now let's move it to the proper direction. Let's take it to the JSC. Let's hear the reasons and the evidence. But then as it turns out, the president today asks the Ngunjiri to withdraw his petition, and Ngunjiri has withdrawn the petition. But isn't that political incompetence?
What you have is a political neophyte.
All right. And what is that supposed to mean?
He's new to the game. He hasn't been a politician for long.
He's been involved in politics for a while.
Yeah, but also, where has he been involved in politics?
Strategist at the top of, I think,
one
Raila's
who has
campaign.
always failed.
2030. Now you're trying to divert this discussion.
No, I'm not trying to divert.
You're
You
trying
see,
to run away.
the same tactics he used before of going to court over everything, that's what he thinks works on this side, which is the first thing he's done, is the first action he has made. Yeah? And which is why the moment he did it, yeah, you could see more experienced guys. You could see people who know that there's a lot more thought that needs to be done going forward on anything. Call him out. They threw him under the SGR way before the president did. Yeah, they told him you cannot. They told him he was incompetent. Yeah, he was too eager to please, and then you end up shooting yourself in the foot. And the party with it.
All right, so what I see here is this, that we had possibly a very new MP who was very excited to get into office and wants definitely to show his value to the whole team. That could be true. But also we've seen a ruling party, Jubilee, who have been quite on the offensive in terms of dealing with the Supreme Court decision. And we've seen from the president going down and everyone saying, well, we will teach Maraga a lesson. We will fix the judiciary once we win and all sort of things. So when Ngunjiri's so-called petition showed up, it was right for everyone to feel this is Jubilee while at it. All right? It took Jubilee 24 hours to respond. Okay? Which gives credence to the idea that some quarters might have loved this idea. They just didn't know that is walking into a big hole.
Of course, it wasn't a Jubilee idea. And it can't be.
How do we know that these are Jubilee ideas and not Jubilee idea?
Because
enlighten us.
The person who pushed it, yeah, as I've said, he has a history of running to court over everything. Yeah. So these, having switched sides, having been elected MP, he thought that this is the way you continue to do it. As I'm saying, he's a political neophyte. He is just trying to make himself relevant to the party and to the present. These are people who call it attention seeking. But from what you're saying, yeah, in terms of what the party has been saying against the Supreme Court. I told you before that this election is going to be emotional. Yeah?
Isn't this part of the emotion? Is Ngunjiri just working on the emotions as well? This is talking to the base. The base is very happy that Maraga is going to be kicked out because Ngunjiri Wambugu has presented a petition. And among other things, he's saying the CJ is in cahoots with NASA, private meetings and night meetings and all these sort of things. There's all these lewd allegations.
You must be also strategic in terms of what you put out there. Yeah? You can't say that immediately the president has just had finished meeting with the Abagosi leaders. The moment he's finished that meeting, you come and pull this surely. Yeah? How is that logical? How is that strategic? Because at the end of the day, here's the thing. You have someone who is eager, because this one was not run through anyone who could have told him, who could have told him, stop.
Marvin,
what he did, he jumped the gun, and he thought he's going to be the hero at the end of the day.
Somewhat he's a hero. Yeah, because he's got the president attention. He's got the president to spend a whole day today telling him, please withdraw your petition.
One statement, a few words.
Do you want to check what is the news tomorrow in the newspapers? Are you sure you want to do that?
The president did not spend a whole day. He spent a few words on that issue.
And that is going to be the story of the day. I just want you to accept that the president possibly has done so many things today, but there's only possibly one or two things that are going to be on the press, and that's the thing that's going to be the press.
We'll discuss next week on Friday.
Right. So here we have a politician, and I think this is happening a lot, and especially I think in the Jubilee wing, who are eager to show their weight and help in whatever means they can. Moses Kuria, Ngunjiri, Wambugu, name them. They're trying to show, or in many ways, to jump in front of the queue and say, you know what, we seem to think that we can be able to handle what NASA is throwing better than the group. So they're doing individual efforts. Now, the problem that you have is this, that Jubilee is presenting this idea that these are not our ideas. All right. So when do we know it is Jubilee ideas? All right. And when do we have something that finally goes and then it works by, like at now we can say it's a private members, sort of motion. When can we say this is a Jubilee idea? When is it just someone who's just feeling they can help? Like Irungu Kangata, all right, going to the DPP today, I guess, well, and saying, you know what, investigate David Lee, NASA technical advisor, because he asked for cessation. Is that a Jubilee idea or a Jubilee? Because I'm really struggling to find what is a Jubilee idea and what is not.
And as long as you don't also accuse me of being...
Of course not. I'm just picking your good brain.
Here's the thing. The president, look at how quickly Ngunjiri was taken down.
In 24 hours.
Yeah? Not 24 hours is what the president addressed him when he was meeting with the Central Kenya leaders. So that was the avenue where he was there, and he told him in front of people that you need to stop that BS. But now, way before that, what was the immediate reaction of other Jubilee leaders? Yeah? What was the immediate reaction of other Jubilee leaders from across the country? They told him they called him worse names, yeah, than what you'll find online at the moment. They called him worse names. That tells you that this was not a party idea. So that's one. Number two, look at what the president also has done. As I told you, this is an emotional issue. The emotion means, given this thing was annulled, someone needs to be angry at it. Someone needs to own that emotion that I'm not happy that this thing was taken.
And Ngunjiri did exactly that.
Yes.
Watched our show, took out your best ideas, went ahead, and now you're rubbishing him.
Because at the end of the day, it wasn't a smart idea.
Why wasn't it smart? Just help the public realize. Why wasn't this not a very smart idea?
Because
on paper it looked very brilliant.
On paper?
Yes.
Yeah, and in his mind as well, I think it might have lit up his whole head. Yeah. And the reason it's not smart, as I said, is number one, you are doing this on the back of the president's meeting with the Kisii leaders in State House, telling them that I have no issues with the community. I have no problem with leaders from your communities. I have a problem with a decision that was made by the Chief Justice.
Yeah.
That's the only issue. Now, what NASA has done in Nyamira and in Kisii is to go and actually accuse the president of attacking the community. Now, what embodies an attack of a community is the removal of a Chief Justice based on the decision that he made. And based on the promise that the president just made, based on his words, on the conciliatory tone, on the pledges, you come and the next thing you do is shoot him in the foot? Ridiculous. A stupid idea.
So the question why we bring it to the political incompetence table is that when you have such a huge majority, there needs to be run. It's a big ship and needs to be run like a very tight ship.
Yep.
All right. And this is where the chief whip and the leader of majority in both houses, come into play, because that majority must translate into something.
Yeah.
This is 2 weeks on or 3 weeks on after Parliament has been properly constituted, and you haven't seen a clear idea on how Jubilee wants to have the majority. The majority needs to be seen in terms of individual brilliance, or the majority is seen in terms of Jubilee actually pushing through the House things that it feels are important, because Jubilee, all these MPs came into office on a certain platform, on a certain manifesto, and it must be translated to something. Now, the people who have political responsibility of moving the country forward, fortunately or unfortunately, are the people who won the majority, are the people in office, are the people in power. They're supposed to draw the first blood, as it were. All right?
Yep.
Now, we have a situation whereby that is not happening. I feel that we have this idea that is being run, that it's sort of like we haven't gone to an election. It's sort of this TNA code, not even TNA or DM thing going on, So who's going to do this transition? Because the way I see it, from where I sit, I think that this majority hasn't translated to anything, as it were. And this is 3 weeks on.
Yeah, 3 weeks where we are still in an election period. That's the one thing you always have to remember. We're in an election period. What legislation are they going to put up now?
They can Jubilee didn't just win because they had a president, a deputy president. They said that, and that's the reason why they're talking about the majority, that, we want these numbers in Parliament to do something. Unless you want to rubbish the idea that
but
numbers
also
in
you're the
Parliament
same
mean
person
nothing.
who argued that the president, in this point in time, has no mandate to sign any meaningful legislation, because he is. Can
I just say this, Marvin, to finish with? This country will always have one president at a time, all right? Uhuru Kenyatta remains president until another president goes, and until he hands over power, he remains president of this republic.
And you said that in terms of signing significant legislation, the argument you made, and I remind you, is that if Chebukati resigns, we are screwed as a country because the president cannot sign. Now, what laws do you want Jubilee leaders to pass?
Marvin, again, you see, you're again backing in a very small corner here. I don't want to say, what? Making laws doesn't take 2-3 weeks. It's a process.
It is a process.
What I'm asking here is very simple, all right? That the majority in Jubilee, the numbers that they have in both houses, they should show us that they can do something with it. I'm not saying that they would come up and in 2 weeks they have laws and they've passed. They should be able to say, these are the key issues that we are prioritizing, all right, in the House. This is when we start this very busy discussion. These are the issues that we want to accelerate so that we can get them passed as soon as the election is done in next month.
And if
we should have these things ready.
If we are going to be real about politics, the most important thing right now is to make sure the president remains the president, which is why most of the time will be spent on the ground campaigning, because, and look, even go back the last 4 years. Who are the guys who give directions in terms of the legislative agenda? has been the president and the deputy president.
And that's quite an anomaly, and it's quite unfortunate that it's been that.
Yeah, but
the truth is this.
They are the vision bearers.
It's true.
Yeah?
It's true.
They are
It's
the
true.
vision bearers, and based on that vision is where you find certain legislations being moved forward.
I want us to come to the point, Marvin.
Yes.
That we say that we have institutions that we formed in the 2010 Constitution,
Yep.
and they're supposed to do certain things. All right. This Parliament is not anywhere near the Parliament that we had before 2013. All right. It's very different. It's supposed to do certain things, very different things. All right. An MP today is by no means supposed to be back in the field building roads and doing all those things. They are supposed to be making laws in Nairobi. That's how we elect MPs, and it's very expressed in the Constitution, a role of an MP. All right. Now, as a collective, what they're supposed to do is one job. Is that the job is to make sure that they oversee what the executive is doing. They cannot again be subservient to the same executive. All
Come
right?
on.
It's true.
Come on.
They cannot.
In which jurisdiction is that even?
In this republic, in this jurisdiction, what we have is a bicameral parliament. All right. And what we're refusing to do is this. We are saying that let's go back to the Westminster version of parliament, whereby the MPs, all they do is take instruction from the prime minister. Okay. That's not what's supposed to happen
Even
here.
the US is bicameral.
That's what I'm saying. Now, what in the US, what happens is very simple, all right? That we've created serious institutions that the House of Representatives, all right, they have their leadership in the House, okay? They prioritize the issues that are important for the party, okay? Not the president, the party. When the president comes with his ideas, they look vis-a-vis with the party, and sometimes they have a fight and say, you know what, this is a conflict. We like what you have, and you can convince us, then we can do it. But what we have here is the complete opposite. We are saying that all those MPs are actually nonsense. That all they're supposed to do is make sure that stop everything else and make sure that we elect a president.
That's the immediate job.
And that's from the both sides. And I think that is just a painful way to do politics. I think we have a new constitution and we should be strengthening parliament to be a house of ideas. A place where we'll come with great ideas on how to build this country in terms of law.
I agree with you.
But
are we there yet? No, we are not.
we have someone in parliament who has majority.
And remember, what you've said, the difference between the US and Kenya is where the parties are they hold the ideas. Yeah. They are the bedrock. We'll discuss, I think, at some point, and we have to, the idea of parties in the country. But it's only now that you're finding a situation where parties are actually getting the kind of strength. Yeah. This is where we'll say we are going to move towards a two-party, maybe a three-party state. We'll use, I think, these elections as a genesis of that.
All right.
Yeah. And then now going forward, I think the party will have those same powers. Because again, look at the US. How old is it? The party has come a long way. Here we are looking at a new constitution that came in 2010. You have 7 years. You want to...
Marvin has just pulled that historical fact. All right, let's get to the next point. NASA MPs boycotting President Uhuru's 12th opening of Parliament, including the Supreme Court judges. Why was it important for the president to show up and open Parliament as it were? NASA says, listen, we still have a contestation here about the presidency. The Supreme Court has found irregularities and illegalities in that election, and you're going to a new election. So in effect, you are not morally, and I choose my words very carefully here, you are not morally in place, all right, to be the person to give a sort of concessional opening of Parliament. And the Supreme Court judges seem to agree. Do you agree?
Of course I don't. I think it's a short-sighted, emotional gimmick. The Supreme Court first, they are the ones who gave the decision that resulted in this. A country must have a president. Going back to your last statement, we'll always have a president at any one point. Yeah? So the president is, and who else is going to do it? Yeah? Because they created, especially the Supreme Court, they created this situation we are in. So right now, you cannot now go ahead and say, I cannot attend, because at the end, who is supposed to lead us at this time?
But you said it created as if it's a bad thing. I mean, when anyone goes to the Supreme Court, there's two options that we always expect.
See, I can't take ownership over your interpretation.
You're accusing me of interpreting your ideas wrongly. This is what you said. Let me walk you through. You said the Supreme Court created the situation we are in.
Yes.
All right. They were asked a question as the Supreme Court was asked in 2013.
Yes.
All right. Consider the facts that are before you and the law. Was this election properly conducted, and was President Uhuru Kenyatta validly elected? In 2013, they said absolutely yes. Move on. They created a situation then. All right?
Yes.
2017, they said absolutely not.
Yes.
They created a situation then. So we cannot be seen to be saying that what the Supreme Court did was sort of extra constitutional. They were asked a question and they answered it.
They were asked a question.
Whether you agree or not with them.
Your same line of thought, yeah? But now, when you get to, did they create this situation? Yes, they did, yeah? But by creating this situation, it meant the president's term was extended by the 2 months, yeah, until the next election. So even them, they have to acknowledge and respect the presidency, because they created a situation where it extended his term for this duration pending the next election. Have you heard of the term non sequitur? Okay, non sequitur means when your initial thoughts, yeah, the conclusion do not add up, do not qualify your previous line of thought.
They necessarily don't have to. My premise could be one and my conclusion could be different.
Non sequitur.
Yeah.
That's exactly what you just did. Now, the Supreme Court, in what they did, yeah, they created this situation where which
is not a bad thing. We have to say it. It's legally constitutional.
No, it's the situation we are in.
Yes, which is not a bad thing.
It is the situation we are in. No, bad is relative.
No, it's not a bad thing. It's
bad is relative.
Our constitution foresaw this scenario.
Okay,
that's why you have provisions for it.
The reason I'm saying bad is relative, because it's a subjective issue.
No.
It is.
We have
there are
to get
people who are not happy with the situation we're in.
And
that's why I'm saying it is relative.
I mean, when you go to a court of law, right,
Yeah.
and you're contesting something,
Yeah.
and the judge decides for you against me,
Yeah.
I could be unhappy, all right?
Yes.
But the law is the law, all right? We can change it. That's it. So we can't say, you know what, the law has created this situation that we're in, that now I've lost to Marvin. We can't say that, all right?
No, I'm not saying that. Saying we are in this situation at the moment. The situation that we are in has meant the president has to continue for this term, and the Supreme Court itself, yeah, because that's what the law says, should also acknowledge that we have also a president, and if there are presidential things that are being done which precedence dictates the Supreme Court, the Chief Justice and the members of the Supreme Court be there, they should follow the same precedence and be there.
It's important for Jubilee to show normalcy. That they are properly in office and government is working. The cabinet meetings to attend to, there are meetings with development partners to attend to, and that sort of thing. And it's the interest of code to show that this country is not normal.
Yes.
All right. That things cannot continue the way they have been. I mean, Parliament is not properly constituted, as they say.
Yes.
And I use that quote in quote. Their MPs are boycotting house sittings and that sort of thing. And that brings us to where we are, to the fourth point, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the question of President Uhuru Kenyatta finally addressing, I think, a group of members of Parliament or Jubilee, I think, parliamentary group meeting, where he said that even if Raila Odinga wins, Jubilee, with their majority in the House, I think 176 members of Parliament, and I think 30-something in the Senate, that they can still impeach a President Raila Odinga within 2 to 3 months. Now, that theoretically works. But I'll speak about the political reality of this country. And this is it, that today, supposing Abdul Badida had won the presidency, I can promise you the Jubilee majority and the NASA majority would mean nothing. it would be useless. They would all be lining up at State House and saying the way they want to work with this president and time for politics is over. Okay? That's just the political reality, political consideration.
No.
So, in my view, I would tell you for a fact, it would never happen, not in this day and age. But most importantly, on the legal question, for you to impeach a president, it's a question of gross misconduct. You have to show, it's like coming to court. You have to come with evidence and show what this president has done. Someone cannot walk into office and impeach him simply because he's from another party. I rest my case. Think I found him.
No. A few things.
One.
Number one. As I said, this is going to be. You have to think about the psyche of the voter. Yeah. We are in a political space, political environment where more or less anything goes. Yeah. Now, if I don't want your supporters to vote, if I want to demoralize them, if I want to make them feel that you can't win this, even if you won, you can't do anything. Because if I have the majority, yeah, what do I use it for? It's a bargaining chip, and a big one in parliament, where I'm able to say appropriations bills are not going to be pushed through, which means your government is broke. You can't run the normal business of government. Basically, what the president was saying is, with such dismal performance by NASA in the parliamentary seats,
there are 98 petitions that are considered in the 6 months. So
we are working with what we have. With what we have.
All right.
With such a dismal performance, based on what we have to qualify, within the parliamentary seats, there is nothing a NASA presidency can do for this country, because you need the House to be able to effect the agenda.
NASA has put forth some irreducible minimums on that big question of IEBC. All right. So IEBC did this huge retreat. They had these infights. On our last show, we talked about it. We showed you how the chairman, Chebukati, wrote a huge memo to the CEO and asking very specific questions, 12-point questions. The CEO has not been able to answer those questions. But they went for a meeting.
He answered in the retreat.
And in the retreat, they came about and they told us, oh, by the way, the CEO still continue. He's been very nice. It was a big, misunderstanding, which was just on Twitter. Not anywhere else. But, I mean, he didn't retweet my tweet, so I got feelings. I mean, that's what IBC is saying in many words. Point is this, that NASA was supposed to have a meeting with IEBC, and supposed to be a bipartisan meeting, including President Kenyatta and his deputy and, NASA principals, put them in one place, in one meeting, discuss how we're going to do this election moving forward. What are the things that are important for both of you guys, And IEBC put up a date. NASA showed up. The president was busy. The deputy showed up and said, oh, sorry, this was not a very good day for us. We had meetings and all sort of things. So put it for another day. Thursday is also not very good because you had cabinet meetings or whatever. Now NASA has come about and said, you know what? We don't want to show up in any meeting. Okay? For a very simple reason. That one, they have this going run-ins with IEBC. That everything IEBC says, they keep on changing. Right? But secondly, they also think that we should not run away from the fact that an election has been annulled, and there are some serious questions that are being asked out of it. Okay, and that IEBC just moving on as if nothing has happened, it's a big problem, and they seem to agree with that, because there's someone who messed up a 50 billion election. Okay, we're going to spend another 15 billion to conduct this election. That's 75 billion shillings. That's a lot of money that me and you are going to pay. There has to be some individual responsibility in the IEBC. I don't know who, and I don't know what, and I don't know when. But I am in an uncomfortable position whereby I think we should not move as business as usual. I feel you're going to say, let's move as business as usual.
No, if we are a country of laws,
We are a country. We know not if we are a country of laws,
Yes.
Marvin.
And then it follows that, okay, we are a country of laws, and therefore it follows that we must adhere by what has been,
The sequitur moment. You know.
kind of. We must adhere. We must adhere by what the court says. And what did the court say? It says it gave the instruction that IEBC must conduct
That
an
is true.
election within the next 2 months.
That is true.
Now, they also said that they'll provide a more reasoned,
Which surely should be coming on this
which
week.
should be coming this week.
Yes.
Now, based on that, I think we also would be in a better position to know where liability lies in terms of what happened.
Is introspection such a difficult thing? All right.
No,
Okay. Before even this show continues, we'll say what we are waiting for the reasoned judgment by the Supreme Court.
Yes, we are.
So there is no motion until you have a reasoned judgment.
We can talk.
That's
but
what you're saying.
No, we
don't
have to
understand.
wait. Yeah, we have to wait.
No,
But what I'm saying is this: we can talk. We can hear. Because what do you want? You want us to? Because IBC, yeah, IBC must start certain preliminary kind of measures in terms of preparing for the election, because clearly you will not have enough time following those 39 days will not be sufficient to organize. It's not even 39 if you consider elections are to be done on the 17th. Yeah. So those days in between the ruling and the elections would not be sufficient to organize certain things. So are there things you can start organizing now? Yes. If the ruling comes and says, James, you are liable because you dropped the ball here, or you committed certain illegalities here, and here, then you say, James, you know what? Go stand on that table, wait for us to organize, and let the people who need to deal with you deal with you.
I'm agreeing with you. I think we're just saying the same thing here.
Yeah.
That there's some issues in that last election that will become clear
Yes.
as soon as we have that reasoned judgment that everyone is waiting for.
Yes.
But as where we are and where we sit, and this is just an in-look on what IBC is, the chairman and the CEO and all sort of things, that there were some fundamental problems and some fundamental flaws in that election. One, which has already been pointed out, is the transmission of results. Okay? In fact, that is the beginning and the end of our problems. Okay?
Yep.
Everyone accepts that people went by 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning, everyone was queuing. By 5 p.m., people had finished, or the place that hadn't finished, people were still queuing to finish voting. And as soon as that ended, all right, at 5:01, our problem started. Okay. The body that is going to conduct this next election has a few responsibilities, in my view. One, there's this introspection. Marvin, we've spent 75 billion Kenya shillings. This is the most expensive election in the history of the world. All right? We've conducted the most expensive election even than the most advanced states. Okay. We can't just say that, you know what, let's move on. We have an election on 17th and children need to do the exams. We need to move on. Someone has to stop and say, you know what, hang on, guys. Yes, we're organizing for the next election, but there is a serious introspection that must happen, and that is not what's happening at the moment. We are giving IEBC a free pass by saying, guys, do whatever you need to do. Okay. Let's organize another election and let's move on very quickly. I think that's the wrong attitude. I think that's the wrong way to move, and I think that's not the way to build institutions.
But who do you want?
We should start, if we are honest enough, inside the IEBC, that introspection should be happening. They should be coming out to the public.
There's a reason it's called introspection. You don't hold it in front of TV.
But also, Marvin, again, this is another problem that we have, that people in this country believe that institutions belong to them. IEBC is paid by the taxpayers. Anything and everything they do should be a cause of public concern.
So will they be vetted, or
vet themselves? Vet themselves. They should be honest enough to look.
It's not happening.
Because they've not come and told us. We saw a memo that came out, which was the biggest introspection, in my view, which was very quickly moved in and snuffed out, if you like. Said, you know what, this is too many noise. Keep quiet. Organize another election.
I think IEBC, the reason they announced the elections, and they announced the president as a president-elect, is because they felt they had run the most competent.
And the incompetent, clearly now we know.
The most competent, the most legitimate, the most fair and free election. Now, the court is the one that said it was not. And the court has not given the reasons why it said it was not.
We have the ruling, Marvin. We have the ruling. That's a lie.
You don't have a reason.
We have a ruling. We have a ruling.
You have the ruling, yes, but they don't tell you because there is if the introspection were to be done, it should have been done before elections were announced.
No.
They should have. Right now, you don't have the time or the space to be able to. I think the only way you can argue this point is after the judge, the Supreme Court, give out the reasons, and then you say IEBC is ignoring or IEBC is not doing X, Y, Z, because then we will have. I'll take you to.
We have to finish.
No, I must say this. I must say this. My favorite comedian. No, I must say this.
Marvin's favorite comedian has checked in.
Yes, Patrice O'Neill. He said,
this is the second time Patrice. Yes, Patrice is showing up on the show.
Yes. Now, Patrice said, for Jews, they have Hitler. They have the guy with the mustache to hate. So they don't have to hate the entire of Germany. Jew is that symbol. That mustache, the Hitler, is a symbol
of hate.
So
yes.
I only need to hate that person. And he was saying in the US, for racism, white people need to give them a symbol to hate so that you don't have this mass hatred of, even now, if someone can come and embody this incompetence so that we say this rests on him. It was Kivuitu then. Yeah? Last election, probably Hassan took the march later on. But in this coming election, you cannot point at anyone until the people who said something was wrong, they need to give you that particular symbol. And they say, the problem was here, and who was in charge? It was either Chiloba, it was either Kombe, it was either Chebukati, but give us that symbol so that you can be able to point the incompetency to a particular individual. But until you do that...
All right, we have to be very competent and end the show at this point.